everybody. So we've got patch 13.18 preview, part 1. This will be the video where we don't actually go over any of the, let's say, particular changes coming out because they haven't been released yet. Instead, we will be going over the patch like as a whole. Now, I do need to make every single patch seem to be the most interesting, best patch ever, so you guys click on the video and you watch it, etc, etc. Unfortunately, this patch is also the most exciting patch ever, so you guys should click on this and watch it and give it a like and put a comment down below, because this is the best, most interesting patch since the last patch, which is also the best, most interesting patch. So what's going on in this patch? So they said Naafiri landed well, as in the Naafiri nerfs have balanced the champion. JARVAN benefited from Sojin and Gore Drinker. Obviously, he benefited a little amount. I'm looking at Diamond Plus here. JARVAN did a little bit of a benefit here. He did a little bit of a benefit here. He's doing quite well, indeed. Blue Kane is moved, but red was neutral from Gore. Basically, Gore Drinker got buffed, but because red Kane was better with lethality items anyway, red Kane now does just as good with Gore Drinker as he does with lethality items, so it kind of ended up being neutral. Blue Kane ends up getting stronger. Tryndamere moved a lot even with preemptive nerfs. I, for one, am shocked. I thought that giving a pure melee champion 50 extra base attack range would not actually be a buff. I thought that a completely insignificant nerf to the amount of damage a champion does would destroy them. I think, here's what I think actually happened with the Tryndamere changes, by the way. I think Riot literally forgot that Tryndamere had one of the highest base damages in the entire game, and that's without even factoring his Q. His base attack damage was 72. I think that was almost literally the highest level 1 damage in the game. Once you factor in the bonus damage from his Q, the bonus damage from his runes, the other bonus damage from his Q if he's at low HP, that means that Tryndamere often ended up with like 100 damage at level 1. Just on his Q, that brings him to 78. Then with the attack damage rune, that would bring him to 84 damage. So all he would need to be is at half HP, and he would be at 100 damage. By nerfing his base damage by 4, I think from a Rider's perspective, they thought like, oh my god, this will obliterate the champion. But by nerfing it by 4, all they did was reduced his auto attack damage by 4% at level 1. And then from there, it gets weaker and weaker the nerf as time goes on. Now, as you might imagine here, the problem is that at 175 range, that means that Tryndamere can quite frequently get in extra auto attacks that he otherwise wouldn't. All he needed to do was get in a singular extra auto attack and it would offset the entire 4 damage nerf that they did on Tryndamere. And that's if the 4 damage matters at all, by the way, because with 4% less damage, that means that Tryndamere could very likely kill you without noticing that he lost 4 damage, because if he kills you in 10 attacks, or he kills you in 10 attacks, it doesn't really matter if you died with less negative HP this time. Do you know what I mean? So getting in a single extra auto attack from the 50 extra range, which will always happen, just massively buff the champion. I really struggle with what Riot is doing lately. It is really dumb. So follow-up nerfs on JARVAN, Forge, Red Kane, and Tryndamere. So let's look at the actual patch notes themselves. Now I'm going to say what I think. I'm going to do like a speculation here. I'm going to speculatory kind of think what they're going to buff on these champions. So Aelia is getting buffed. Now, I want to look at Aelia right here. If I look at like the pick rate of the top 10 top laners right now at Diamond Plus, we can see Renekton got buffed recently, Aatrox got buffed recently, Darius keeps getting his items buffed, Jax got buffed, Yone got buffed, Fiora is Fiora and just giga broken at all points in time, Camille got buffed, Malphite got buffed earlier this year, Riven got buffed, Jace got buffed. Do you get the idea here? The problem isn't that Aelia is weak, so to speak, so much as it is all the other top laners have been buffed. Now, I think what they'll probably do is they'll just buff Aurelia's laning phase, because all they ever do is buff her laning phase. Unfortunately, Aurelia's kit is pretty bad. Like, just, it doesn't do anything. Like, she just spams a lot of gap closers. There's not really much you can buff or nerf about the champion in interesting ways, because fundamentally all she does is she just gap closes. And so she just stat checks everyone. She's like one of the premier stat checkers. So there's very little they can do to buff her in a way that's like interesting. Like they can't make her late game stronger. They can't make her skill shot stronger. Like they can't do any of that. Because her skill shot is basically an auto hit on any champion without an escape move, because she can put it down, Q forward, then put it right behind you, so you get hit before you can realistically dodge. If she's good at the game, she can do that, right? Her gap closers, well, I mean, she just gap closes, right? Like, how do you outplay someone gap closing to you? They're right next to you. So what do they do to Aelia? She needs to have low armor, she needs to have low health, so that other champions can stat check her into the ground. Well, obviously, as you might be thinking here, if she gets stat checked into the ground, that makes her a bad champion, because now everybody's stat checking her. Do you understand the problem here? So, they'll probably just buff her early game and then make her stat checkier, because that's all they ever do. They just make her a stat checkier champion every time. Gwen jungle focused buffs. So I think Riot has noticed that Gwen is a terrible champion for top lane. She's really unfun. Literally nobody has any fun fighting Gwen. She's one of the worst design champions in League history. I mean, she's definitely up there. Her entire kit is basically I could show you this. I showed you guys this the other day. What you do is you press WEQ. So you put down your W field, then you E forward into a Q into an enemy, and then you spam right click, so it right clicks at the end of your Q animation. And then your enemy takes a full Q and they take a auto attack, because there's basically no time to react to that ability, because it's only a 0.5 second cast time. It casts as fast as a Mordekaiser Q, except she can perfectly position it over you by Eing into it. Then she's got her field over her. Then her opponents need to run forward into the field. They can't just fight back, because Gwen is immune. So they need to run into her as she's auto-attacking them. That means that the majority of champions can't actually fight back against Gwen and just need to back off constantly against her, which gives her free poke, which gives her a free lane, which makes her very unfun to deal with. So Riot's solution to this problem has been to make her escape move along cooldown so that other champions can try to challenge her and force her into all-ins, which then in turn just makes her really unfun to fight. Any champion who can't force her into an all-in has no gameplay they can actually use against her. You can't dodge any of her abilities, you can't do anything. Champions who can all-in her leave Gwen with nothing she can do, because now she can't do anything against them. It makes Gwen a terrible champion for League. Jhin is getting buffed. Well, what do I think? Okay, so for Aelia, they'll probably buff her early game. For Gwen, they'll just give her Q bonus damage to monsters, or maybe they'll give her E bonus damage to monsters. They'll just do something like that. Like, this doesn't need to be rocket science. It's Riot, right? Like, okay. Jhin is getting buffed because he is falling a little bit behind. I think he needs Gale Force, but he likes Infinity Edge. I don't think Jhin is weak. I think that other AD carries are just performing better, right? Like, there's clearly some AD carries who are just performing better. Kai'Sa is just performing better. Like, Kai'Sa is just giga broken right now. Kai'Sa is like one of the most broken champions in all of League of Legends, right? So, like, it's hard for any other champion to compete when you're dealing with Giga Kai'Sa, who can gap close on top of you off any CC and then kill you in 1 second. Like, how do you compete with that as a champion like Jhin? It's like pretty hard. So what are they gonna do? Elite skewed, so at high rank, they'll probably buff his early game. Maybe more health regen, maybe more level 1 damage, maybe reduce the mana cost on his Q, maybe increase the base damage on his Q. Something like that, because like when they say elite skewed, I think they mean like early game, because like high rank is early game, low rank is late game, generally speaking, right? So they'll probably give him like some early game buff there. That's what I'm thinking. Kennen. Wait, what? Kennen? Wait, didn't they just buff Gnar? Now they want to buff Kennen? Wasn't Kennen already doing good competitively? I don't think Kennen is a solo queue champion, and I think he struggles often in competitive play, but I don't think he was doing bad in competitive play, was he? In fact, I would say he does quite well. Kennen stat checks everyone to death forever because he does that. Awesome. What are they going to buff? What would be the least interesting thing they could buff on Kennen? They're going to buff his base damage. They're going to buff his auto attack damage. That's it. If I know Riot, they will literally buff the least interesting, most frustrating aspect about Kennen. So his auto attacks will get buffed. It's going to be something so stupid like that. They will never make him more interesting. They will never give him counterplay. They will never do anything at all, even remotely entertaining. They will just make it, now he does more damage, and everyone will go, yay, damage. Okay. Senna's being buffed because Riot hates us. Where is Senna being buffed? Senna. Yeah, seems like she needs a buff. Does Riot actually buff any champions who need it anymore? Like, it's a serious question. Does Riot ever actually go like, oh man, Swain is underperforming at the high ranks, we should buff up his early game? Like, do they ever do that? Or do they just pick champions who are already good or who have been good in the last 2 months, and they're like, oh no, we nerfed that champion, better buff them back up again, right? Because that's what it feels like. I swear that's what it feels like. It's like every time I do one of these videos, I just see the same champions, up, down, up, down, up, down. Like, I swear, none of these champions are new. Not a single one of these champions, I swear, not one of them have any of these champions not been buffed or nerfed this entire season? Any of them, even one of them. Do we see Urgot? Do we see Trundle? Do we see, let me just look at the bottom of the support. Do we see Vel'Koz? Do we see any of these bitches? Like, come on. Who are some top laners? Did I say Urgot? Singed? Cho'Gath? I mean, come on. Whoa, Shen, Riot? Shen? Olaf? I know Olaf's got a high win rate, but his pick rate sucks because all he does is he beats up people who play bad. He's not actually good. He just beats up people who are bad. It just... Set? Like, all we do, right? All we do. I've been here before. Oh, Senna's getting buffed because we nerfed her, so now we're buffing her. Oh, now Senna builds crit. Before we didn't want her to build crit. Then we wanted her to build crit. Now she builds AP. Now she builds AD. Now she builds tank. Now she's an ADC. Now she's a support. Now she's an ADC. Like, come on, Riot. This is... And we're buffing Thresh. Why are we buffing Thresh? Why? Literally, why are we buffing Thresh? Can I actually ask Riot? Seriously, why are we buffing Thresh? I actually looked at this because I was so confused. At all ranks, Thresh is the number 2 pick. At Platinum Plus, Thresh is the number 1 pick. At Emerald, Thresh is the number 1 pick. At Diamond, Thresh is the number 2 pick. At Diamond 2 Plus, Thresh is the number 3 pick. At Masters Plus, Thresh is the number 5 pick. And he is 50% win rate at every rank. Just because he gets less popular as you rank up doesn't make him bad. It means champions like Rel are just really, really overpowered and completely outperforming him. But we're buffing Thresh. Why? Because of Worlds? Because we want to see funny Thresh one-shots? What are you going to do? Buff his base damage again? Is that what you're going to do, right? You're going to give Thresh more base damage? Do you know that's what they're going to do? They're going to make his Q do more damage or some shit like that. And why wouldn't they? He's one of the best champions in the game. He doesn't fall below number 5 pick at every rank. For the vast majority of the game, he's the most picked support in the game. So obviously we need to buff him. Because nothing new ever happens in this game. It's the same champions every patch. It's the same champions. Okay, so who's new here? Oh wow, we're nerfing Zeri, Xayah, Tryndamere, Rel, Kane, and JARVAN? Which patch are we right now, chat? Wake up, chat. Wake up. We're back in season 12. We're nerfing the same champions again, chat. Wake up. You need to wake up. The accident. It wasn't your fault. So we're nerfing JARVAN because we giga buffed his items and now he's overperforming. So, nothing much to say about that. Nothing really interesting to say about that. I think he like slightly falls off the higher rank you go, but not nearly enough. And he's clearly overperforming pretty hard right now. Okay, so next up we have Kane, Red. What are they gonna nerf? Okay, so let me go back to my guesstimation here, my speculatory works. Okay, Aelia they'll buff her early game because Riot hates us. Gwangul they'll just give her some bonus damage to minions. Fuck it. Jhin they'll buff his early game because of elite skewed. Kennen they'll do something terrible like buffing his base damage, or they might even buff his AP ratios, or it's gonna be some sort of damage buff, and I think it's gonna be a damage buff on like his early game focus. That's my opinion. I think they'll go for like an early game focus damage buff so that he can dominate lane even harder. Senna's getting buffed. Crit focus buff. They'll probably make her crit harder or something. They'll like give her more crit damage. Maybe her souls will give her more crit. Ooh, Thresh is getting buffed. They'll just give him more damage. Funny Thresh Q one-shots. because he's not already like the best support in the game. Jarvan's getting nerfed. How are they going to nerf Jarvan? If I was a rider and I was nerfing Jarvan, honestly, I think I would. Personally, I would nerf his base damage, but knowing Riot, they'll nerf his survivability. They'll be like, oh wow, Jarvan's doing too much damage. Okay, quick, make him squishier. He's a bruiser, make him squishier. So that's what I think they'll do. I think they'll like nerf his armor or health or something, and they'll just be like, look guys, he's now an assassin. He does funny one-shot. He. Red Kane's being nerfed. Didn't they just nerf Kane? Honestly, I don't know what they would nerf on him at this point. Like, they could just nerf his Q damage finally. That would be good, right? If they just finally nerfed his Q damage, I would appreciate that. Rel's being nerfed. What are they going to nerf? Everything, hopefully. Base damage, stuns, survivability, everything. I can't really speculate what they're going to nerf on Rel because, my god. How about we just start with everything and we work our way down from there? Trinity's getting nerfed. Okay, I think, based on the way they worded it, I think they'll reduce his range to 150 from 175. This still means that Lethal Tempo Tryndamere has 200 range. I think Riot really needs to reconsider their life because Lethal Tempo is so goddamn broken. It's like, does Riot actually understand how broken Lethal Tempo is? Like, sometimes I don't think they do. Sometimes I think, like, in a rider's mind, like, when you go into a rider's mind and you compare into their thoughts, they're like, Lethal Tempo only gives 1,500 gold at level 1. That's so weak. Xayah's getting nerfed. Hopefully her damage. She does a little bit too much of the DPS right now. A little bit too much of the pew-pews. Where is Xayah? Xayah's up here. Yeah, I would like them to nerf Ashe's Q, by the way, as well. Right? Could you do that? I think Xayah is just overpowered competitively. I don't really pay that much attention, but I can just tell by playing against Xayah players that that's probably what's happening. Because every single time that Xayah is like nerfed, it's because of competitive. And the thing is, you can typically tell when Xayah is overpowered because like you can see that good players are doing like really good on her. Even if the bad players aren't doing that amazing, the good players starts trashing you. So yeah. Zeri's being nerfed. Zeri the carry is very scary. She was designed in a way that is very terrible. That didn't rhyme, but it's true. If Zeri ever reaches 50% win rate, which she almost is here, she's ungodly overpowered. Instantly. Every single time. That's it. No comment. What will Riot nerf? They'll probably nerf her base damage. Again, something like that. They'll never address the fact that she's way too safe of a champion. That she's like way too safe. That like, what Zeri can do is just be too safe. She's too safe. The ability to jump over a wall and be 2 screen lengths away is too safe. It makes her way too hard to gank. It makes her way too hard to die. It makes her way too difficult to stop from doing stuff, right? Like, it's just too much. I think kind of like how Talon can jump over walls, but like if he tries to jump over too far of a wall, it just sends him like diagonally. I think Zeri really needs a thing where like if she tries to jump over a wall and it's too long, it like slowly pushes her out of the wall. You know what I mean? So like she can't just like wall hop 2 screens. Okay, so that's it for champion nerfs. That's it for champion buffs. What are they doing on system changes? We're buffing Stormrazor and we're nerfing Spear Ocean. I was a bit afraid they would nerf Spear Ocean. I kind of figured they would hit Bruiser somewhere. Like I figured, like I figured they would hit it Bruiser somewhere. Like I don't know. I didn't know where in particular, but I kind of felt that somewhere it was coming. I could just feel it, right? Like it just felt like the Spear Ocean change in particular with the Gore Drinker Sterics. Like it just felt like it was going to end up being too much. And I was right. So maybe they'll reduce its HP by 50 because Riot hates nerfing damage. They might push its damage down to like 55 from 60, but I think what they'll do is they'll push its HP down to 450 from 500. That's what I think. Stormrazor's being buffed. I don't really know how. Because down here, we have Static Shiv Wave Clear adjustment. So Static Shiv does too much Wave Clear, and it makes the game boring, and it makes every AD carry go Static Shiv. The problem is, Static Shiv on paper was not a very good item, but then what people started doing is, particularly after it got buffed, people just use it to stall the game out completely. Like if you're playing an ADC, and you're trying to farm in the mid game, all you do is you just run up, hit the wave, run back, run up, hit the wave again. All the casters are dead. Most of the melee is dead. You use one ability, clear the melee. No one can interact with you. No one can really do anything. It makes champions also like LeBlanc impossible to interact with. because they can just clear the minion waves so quickly that like you never get you never get like the time to be able to interact with them. Like they literally just run up, attack, the wave is dead. Like what are you gonna do? Are you just gonna jump across the entire lane on them every single time? Like no, you can't. It's like so hard. And so Static Shiv should never have been reintroduced ever. And at this point they kind of just need to admit that it was a terrible idea and maybe just go, oops, we accidentally removed it from the game. Crown of the Shattered Queen is being adjusted. I literally don't know how. It was like an item that was good when everyone was getting like actually one shot, but now that people are basically getting one comboed instead of one shot, like now that Zed doesn't kill you with just 2 shurikens and an auto attack, Crown of the Shattered Queen has lost a lot of its usefulness. So what can I say? I have no idea what they're gonna do. Maybe they'll increase the AP when it's, well, they say adjustment. Now, if they adjusted it, like if they were actually to adjust it, and if I was to actually adjust it, I would do something like maybe it gives more AP while the shield's active. Maybe the shield is what you want to be active. Maybe it's like a shield for poke champions, and like if you break it, they get much weaker, but if they can keep the shield up, they get much stronger, right? Yeah, maybe something like that. So that like the counterplay to poke champions is to like knock off their shield somehow. But then like their gameplay is to keep the shield up so they can do more damage. You know, something like that. Like that's kind of what I'm thinking here, maybe. I can't really say for sure what they're gonna do because it's Riot. Like they do shit at random. It's impossible to tell. But if I was to do it, I think that would make it a more interesting item. Because then in poke v poke it would be weaker. But like in poke v like non-poke, it would kind of be like like knock it off, like, you know, maybe like reduce its AP to like 40, but you get like 60, 70 AP while it's way of the shield active. So like if you manage to knock it off, they get like way weak, but if they keep it up, they get like way strong. Like maybe even do something like you do 15% more damage while the shield is up, right? You know, something like that. So like you're encouraged to go back into the to the shield champion, but then if you do, they like lose all their AP and become really weak. Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, that's this entire patch. Thank you for watching. If you guys been wondering where I am, I've been on my variety channel. I've been streaming variety games, Starfield, Baldur's Gate, what's that other one? I've been playing Total War 2. So I'll put a link down below if you guys want to go watch that. If not, I'm putting out League videos. I'll do more League, but like there's a lot of good variety games coming out right now, and A, I want to play them. So yeah, I just want to play them, and then B, I want to stream them and try to grow my variety channel. So if that's something you're interested in, look down below. We got variety channel. If not, thank you all my Kick subscribers. Thank you all my YouTube members. Thank you all my YouTube watchers. Thank you all my Patreon members. If you want to join my Patreon, look a link in the description. It helps me immensely and I appreciate it a lot. So give me your thoughts. Give me a like. Tell me what you think about this patch, and thank you for watching. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.